Choice of Weapon, new record.
Yes, sir.
I thought you said the last record was going to be the last record.
Well, you know what the thing is, you don't have the gift of clairvoyance. So you say what you mean when you say it. But then I think that's you'll find that most artists worth their salt are contradictory, because you're always reevaluating things.
But you made a fair point with it. Like the record is on its way out. Possibly. I actually like to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
What do you think about all that?
Here's how it came down. It's like I think that after we did Born Into This, it wasn't the greatest experience for us, and with the label and just the whole lack of an industry, and also the genre of rock music where that was heading, and the fact that the rock community wasn't evolving as quickly as other, like say the hip hop community, for example. Hip hop community embraced the new media, it embraced the new technologies and ran with it, and the rock community just kind of came to a grinding halt, just stuck in that 20th century modality. And a band like The Cult, an individual like myself, we're constantly adapting, innovative ideas and formatting or whatever. And so for us, we wanted to get working, but it just wasn't there. And certainly with the label we were working with, they just didn't have that kind of infrastructure. So we thought, you know what, let's go away and do it ourselves. So we tried it. We did these things called capsules. We decided to release our music, and every 3 months we'd release what we would call a capsule. And the name came from fashion collections, where a designer would do a very small collection, and it's kind of usually in between seasons.
Yeah, like Marc Jacobs.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got that. So it'd be like a very small collection, and you'd give it out in between seasons. So the idea was that we'd release new music every 3 months, 2 brand new songs, 2 live songs, plus a visual element, film element, and then release it on all formats: vinyl, MP3, MP4s, FLAC, whatever, all formats, make it available in all formats, a hard copy and digital copy, and then move on to another one, and so on and so forth. By the time we got to the second one, we realized that the amount of energy and industry and money and everything that goes into it is outweighed the return in some ways. But I still think it's not flawed. I think it's still a good, strong argument for that formatting. And I think we'll revisit it. But as we were going through this process, we found that we were working with Chris Goss, more songs were coming up. And then the demand was becoming more from like core audience, like we want an album. And then people are just so tied into that format, certainly cult fans anyway. And then also with, we had labels approaching us as well. And we thought that, it was just kind of, it just made sense. It made sense. There was a body of work there. And it was also kind of there was a collection of songs that were related to each other that almost had to come out at the same time. So the best of intentions with the format and the capsules, but I think that would really suit a young artist right now, like a young artist who's, maybe just up and coming. I think the capsule format would be the way to go. To maybe if you've only got 2 songs, do you want to push out? Then push out those 2 songs, but make sure there's a visual element with it.
How come the visual element?
Visual element was visual first culture. Look, here we are being filmed.
Yeah. What does the record sound like? The new one. What can we expect?
This record is the gloves are off in the sense that it's very raw. The recording is raw. It's coming off the floor. It's recorded, bass drums, guitars, vocals off the floor in a studio, raw rock and roll band. The subject material is of a group of guys who've been around for a while, who've lived a life, and are still here to tell the tale. It's not all puppy dogs, tails, and butterflies. There's a lot of dark elements in it. There's observations on the culture, on society, based upon actual experience. There's romantic ideals in there. There's cinematic vistas. There's punch you straight in the throat rock and roll. There's a lot of philosophy in there, but it all comes from a place of experience and breaking on through to the other side in the palace of wisdom, etc.
I like how you threw a Doors thing in there for me, so I can ask about that, because I did interview Krieger.
Doors reference.
Yeah, right when Brett took over for you.
Yes.
So what was that?
He didn't take over.
Well, no. He joined the band.
I was
right?
passing on the baton. Yeah. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
What was it like trying to fill Jim's role, though? That must have been crazy, because you were, I hear, a Doors fan as a kid.
Yeah. Job one was not to try and fill out, to step into Jim Morrison's shoes or take over a role in that sense, trying not to mimic or do a pastiche of Morrison. The idea was he was a rich body of work in the same way that Shakespeare is a body of work, and it was my interpretation of it coming through my filter. And Ray and Robbie were very good in kind of guiding me into what worked in my persona, what worked in my instrument for the way they wanted it. So I was very pliable with them. I allowed them to kind of help guide me into the instrument that they wanted me to be. Now there are some, there's certain things with archetypal inflections with Morrison, that like lyrical inflections, vocal inflections, space that you have to get. They're just such an integral part of the song. The same kind of beats that you would get with Shakespeare. You have to get those beats right. And I do think when I think of the Doors, I think of Shakespeare. I think Shakespearean.
Well, he wanted to be a poet.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
So you had that literary prowess, and you had that literary space, and he really knew what he was doing with timing and words. And certain words have to be delivered with a certain sentiment behind them. So you had to understand subtext. So it wasn't just as simple as like, oh yeah, I'm going to sing these songs and they're full roar.
Yeah.
I had to go in and really get some of the backstory and some of the songs, and Ray and Robbie were really beautiful with that. They took me through a lot of the environments and situations and maybe some of the mindsets that Morrison might have been in. So it really gave me an insight into this person, and I got to see it from the inside, and I can understand. I have a perspective now on why perhaps the pressures pushed him in a position where he lost his life at a very early age, because there was so much voltage being put through that human being.
Yeah.
Ray and Robbie, they're taskmasters. What they lay down, they crush most singers. It was just, you have to be really strong in that space. It was a killing floor.
Yeah.
Singing in front of Doors was a killing floor. I'm not talking about the audience. I'm talking about the actual being right there with those guys. That was the killing floor. So I think I held my own pretty good. We did 150 shows, and then it was just time to naturally, gracefully bow out, because I would have stayed. I would have been overstayed in the room. I would have been like the house guest that wouldn't have gone away. I knew it was time to move on.
So we do something called 5 questions. 5 quick questions,
Yes.
1 word answers. Road or studio?
Studio.
Lennon or McCartney?
Lennon.
When you hear a song, what hits you most? Lyrics, melody, or rhythm?
Wow. Rhythm.
Song you've written you're most proud of?
Recently, Life is Greater Than Death.
Cool. And in 1 word, The Cult?
Raw.
Nice. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Thank you, brother.